In this video, we are talking about 5 wide receivers who will be massive steals in fantasy football drafts this season, starting with Marvin Mims Jr., who had that late season breakout in the final 5 weeks of the year. 3 of those games, he had 20 plus fantasy points, and from week 11 on, he led all receivers in yards per route run and earned a 28% target rate per route run. That's really good. Taking a look at his numbers, obviously they don't jump off the screen because he didn't do much in the beginning of the year. They didn't really utilize him much either. So that was a huge part of it. Picking Mims, drafting Mims, betting on Mims, you're really betting on this Denver offense. Sean Payton, Bo Nix. I think that Nix is going to take that second step this year. He was really good in his rookie year. He surprised a lot of people. And Sean Payton just needs to unleash arguably their most explosive player on offense in Mims. He needs to get him on the field more. Like, he didn't eclipse a 48% snap share all season long until week 19, wild card game versus the Buffalo Bills. He had a 71% snap share, didn't do much with it, but you got to give him those reps. He's got to get on the field more often, especially because what do they really have outside of Cortland Sutton? Yes, Troy Franklin is there, but no one is like Mims on this roster. He's a field stretcher. He's explosive. He's very fast. We know Denver brought in tight end Evan Ingram. They drafted 3rd round wide receiver Pat Bryant. But I think Marvin should still have plenty of opportunities to make an impact, whether he's playing in the slot or on the outside. Remember, when Sean Payton became Denver's head coach, Mims was actually his very first draft pick. He was a round 2 pick. They didn't have a first rounder that year. So Payton usually nurtures along guys that he drafts, and he's going to use them. There's no question about it. Mims is entering year 3, which is usually a strong bet for a breakout season, especially after closing out the year on a very high note. Week 17, 8 catches, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. Week 18, 5 for 51 and 2. That's 52 combined fantasy points over those final 2 weeks of the regular season. This is a guy you can get in round 12 of your fantasy drafts. There is not much risk, but a ton of upside. Next guy up is Tyreek Hill. The market, the vibe around Hill has honestly never been worse. And this is the time when you pounce. It's like when the crypto or stock market is down bad, it's bleeding out, it's all red. The people who are smart are the ones who buy more while the price is at a discount. And that's what we're going to do here with Tyreek Hill. Last season, there's no way around it. It was really rough for Hill. He played through a wrist injury that he suffered in August before the season even started. Doctors actually recommended that he get season-ending surgery, be done for the year, but Hill opted to play through it. What does that tell us? That this was a pretty significant injury, especially to your wrist. When you're a receiver, you obviously rely on your hands. Like, this is a big deal. He also dealt with an ankle injury. Wes Welker came out and said during the offseason, we don't know when that occurred, but that might have something to do with why he had a terrible 1.75 yards per route run, which is really bad compared to previous years. In 2023, his yards per route run were 3.82 yards. For me, I don't think this is an age thing. I don't think Hill is washed. I don't think he's cooked. Hill can still burn anyone he wants on the football field. This was an injury thing. This was a situation thing. On top of that, Tua was hurt. Surprise. He missed 6 games with a concussion and had that hip injury towards the end of the year. And the offense was just an absolute disaster without their QB1. We know Tyler Huntley took over, and Miami just resulted in this short pass game with Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane. They weren't pushing the ball downfield because they simply couldn't. Huntley doesn't really have a big arm. One would think that Miami is going to go back to airing it out downfield with their 2 best playmakers in Waddle and Hill. I believe that Hill still has plenty left in the tank, and some of these numbers I'm about to share with you back up that claim. Hill actually ranked 8th among receivers in ESPN Open Score last year. That score did trail his 2022-23 marks, but was much better than any of the scores over the previous 5 years that he was with Kansas City. So yes, Hill is 31 years old. He obviously carries some risk, but he's also a guy that has top 5 upside at the position. That is still well within his range of outcomes. Don't let one off year deter you from taking an uber talented player on a good offense with a good quarterback and a good play caller. That's obviously hoping Tua stays healthy, but you don't have to spend a round 1 pick on Tyreek Hill to get him. When is the last time you didn't have to make a top 8 pick to get Hill? maybe his rookie year. So this is incredible value in round 3, and I would be taking full advantage if I were you. On to the next guy, Jaden Reed. This is also a very frustrating one, especially for me. I had a ton of Reed shares last year, and let me tell you, I was over the moon after week 1. He put up 33 fantasy points against the Eagles in Brazil. He was looking like a league winner. He was a guy you drafted in round 7, round 8. When you put up a performance like that in week 1, you're like, oh man, I have gold in my hand. Like, I just walked over a gold mine. We're set. And then right at the end of the game, Jordan Love injures his knee. He misses the next 2 games. We know what happens. Malik Willis at quarterback. It was the Josh Jacobs show. They just ran the ball 50 million times a game. Malik didn't really throw it much at all, so you couldn't play Reed, right? You weren't starting him those weeks. And then Love comes back in week 4. Still isn't 100%, but he plays. And Reed has a great game. So like, all right, we're back. This was just a Jordan Love thing, right? That's what we all thought. But then Love injures his groin a couple weeks later. And it seemed like Love was dealing with nagging injuries all year long. I think that really affected Love, him throwing the football, but also the nature of this offense. Like, I don't know if Green Bay's plan was to run the ball as much as they did, or if Love's injury early in week 1 sparked this new regime. Like, Josh Jacobs, phenomenal. He deserved to touch the ball a ton, but Green Bay ran the football at the 5th highest rate last year. I did not see that coming. I'm a Packer fan, and it was a recipe for disaster for Reed when you're pretty much a slot-only receiver, as he took 75% of his snaps from the slot last year in a low-volume passing attack with a bunch of other receivers around you that are rotating in and out. You're going to struggle. Check this stat out. Reed has only run 7 total pass routes with 1 to 2 receivers on the field over his first 2 seasons. 7 routes, which means he's only coming on the field when they have 3 wide receivers on the field because he's in the slot. And yeah, Reed did have some drops, weren't great, but this isn't a Reed problem, in my opinion, or question of how good he is. He's a really talented guy. The system, the lack of usage, the lack of volume crushed his fantasy value. He was averaging 4.4 targets per game. That just blows my mind. Reed is Green Bay's best, most talented receiver. Like, there's an argument he should be starting over Watson, Dobbs, and Wicks. And he needs to be used like that this year, Packers, please. He had the highest passer rating when targeted among all receivers in the NFL last year. He was 3rd in yards per target, 11th in yards per reception, 15th in yards per route run. Like, we know Christian Watson tore his ACL. He's going to be out for a little bit, so they're not going to have him. They did spend a round 1 pick on receiver Matthew Golden, but he's still a rookie. This is Reed's time to shine. I think he's going to get utilized correctly this year. I hope and pray. And if he does, he could be one of the best picks you can make in fantasy this year. My guess is they're not going to be as run heavy as they were last year. I do think it was an indicator of Love being banged up and how good Josh Jacobs was playing. Take a look at his ADP on Sleeper right now. You can get Reed in the 9th, 10th round. That is absolutely incredible value. Give me him over Ricky Pearsall, Justin Herbert, Travis Etienne. Like, he's a no-brainer. Stephon Diggs, give me Reed. Like, he's an absolute no-brainer. He's a young receiver on a really good offense with a really smart play caller and an ascending quarterback in Love. Like, you need to take him every chance you get in that range. Moving on to Rashied Rice, who was on his way to breaking fantasy football last year. Through the first 3 games, he was averaging 21.6 fantasy points. He was the wide receiver 2 over that stretch. And we all saw that dreaded play where Mahomes threw that interception. He was trying to tackle the defender. The defender does a spin move at the last second. Mahomes' helmet just goes right into Rice's knee. He tears his PLC, his LCL. His ACL was intact. So that is good news. And Rice is looking really great in practice. He's already been a full participant in OTAs. It really helps when you're only 25 years old. You tend to heal a little bit quicker. Now, this wide receiver room to some may be crowded. You have Rice. You have Xavier Worthy. You have Hollywood Brown. How's it all going to shake out? This is what I think. I think Rice is going to eat into Kelsey's production workload on those short underneath routes. We saw it last year. Those first 3 weeks of last year, it's like Mahomes didn't even look at Kelsey. It was just Rice, Rice, Rice. It's going to be much of the same this year. Rice is essentially Patrick Mahomes' new Travis Kelce. They kind of operate in the same area of the field. They have similar skill sets. And let's be honest, Travis Kelce, he's looking old. He's at the end of his career. He's got a couple years left. This might be his last year. I mean, he's going to be 36 years old a month into this season. I'm not expecting much from Kelce. Now, for Xavier Worthy, we know he had that breakout from weeks 15 to 17 last year. He was averaging 10 targets per game with little target competition. No Rice, no Hollywood, and you had a declining Kelce. I just don't think that Worthy is going to command that type of target share this year with everyone healthy. So I would prefer to draft Rice a little bit earlier than wait on Worthy. I think it's pretty clear that Rashied is the better player as well. Will Xavier have those big plays? Yes. But if you want a guy who has a higher ceiling, who's more consistent, I would go after Rice. Now, Rashied does carry a little bit of risk, right? He's still coming off a pretty serious knee injury. He looks great in OTAs, but that's not in an NFL game. While he does have a couple months to get there, I think he will. There's that potential suspension that's been looming for how long now about that high-speed car crash. Based on the early reports that I'm seeing, it's not going to get handled until 2026, so he should be good for another year, but you never know. So that there is a little bit of a risk there. If a suspension comes down midway through the season, it obviously wouldn't be ideal, but a couple more little nuggets on Rice and then we'll move on. In his 11 games since seeing that full-time role, including the playoffs, 17.9 fantasy points per game is what he's been averaging. That would equate to around a top 10 finish at the position. This is a guy you can get in round 4 and 5. He's a massive value because of his ceiling. What we saw, his ceiling is a top 10, top 5 receiver and a really good offense attached to Mahomes. Don't be scared to draft Rice this year. I think he's going to pick up right where he left off before he got hurt. And on to our last guy, George Pickens. I think he's going to go absolutely crazy in year 3. He finally has a quarterback on a good offense, in a good offensive ecosystem, something he has not had in Pittsburgh through his last 2 years. And he isn't the wide receiver 1 this year, which I honestly think is a good thing. CeeDee Lamb is going to command a ton of attention, and it's going to put Pickens in those one-on-one matchups, those advantageous positions, and I think that's where he's going to thrive, honestly. Like Pickens getting doubled, paired with bad quarterback play these last couple of years, it just obviously hasn't worked out. I think George is going to continue to be that playmaking, big play type of guy, but I think he's also going to set a career high in touchdowns this season. I mean, looking at last year, we got a taste of what Pickens can do, even with a declining, older Russell Wilson, who's probably the best quarterback he's ever played with, but he's still nothing special at this point in his career. From week 7 to 13, he was the wide receiver 14, which is solid, 16 fantasy points per game. And we know Dak Prescott is a much better quarterback at this point than Russell Wilson. And I think Dak's throwing style really fits George's playing style nicely. I think they're going to be a very nice match in Dallas. It's never been about the talent for George. He's just been in horrible situations with terrible quarterbacks. Let's take a look at the quarterbacks that he's played with. Mitch Trubisky, terrible. Kenny Pickett, terrible. Mason Rudolph, terrible. Justin Fields, not horrible, but he didn't get many opportunities. Russell Wilson was the best one yet that we mentioned. So not great. And then on top of that, Pickens had to deal with Arthur Smith, who I do not like as an offensive coordinator. He's not creative. He likes to use his backups. He likes to throw to the tight end and the running back. So while Pickens did have some success in that system, I think Brian Schottenheimer, who's the head coach, he's going to call the plays for Dallas like he's been doing, is a massive upgrade for Pickens. And you guys, he's only 24 years old. I think he's going to have a breakout campaign. I don't see why more people aren't seeing this. I think he's one of the easiest players to click on in round 6. He's a fun player to watch. And I just think that going to Dallas, get a fresh restart, a new attitude is just a match made in heaven. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.